Welcome to the Gorgeous Guru Podcast. I'm your host, Day, the Gorgeous Guru. On this podcast, I'll be sharing candid commentary, practical advice, and intuitive insights on life, love, current events, and everything in between. If you're craving real talk, inspiration, and soulful guidance, you're in the right place. So tune in, get comfortable, and get ready to be inspired. Hey, radiant day, y'all. Welcome in. So I'm not sure if y'all got the memo, but America is completely fucked. Or as the young people would say, it's cooked. And it has been for quite a while now. On today's episode, I'm going to get into the reasons why I think we're fucked and talk about how we can unfuck America. But first, a disclaimer. There will be no divisive rhetoric pitting one political party against another in this episode, nor will I blame all of America's problems on one particular political party. There will be no Democrat versus Republican talk. I personally don't adhere to polarizing belief systems. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Most often you find that things aren't just black or white, right? There's nuances and things like that. So I don't do polarizing beliefs. So if that's what you're looking for, you will not find it here, okay? So I'll be quite frank as I start off this episode. I'm not a fan of the two-party system. It just seems like no matter who's in power, we still struggle with the same issues, right? So no matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican at the helm, right, we'll still see poverty, corruption, oppression, and the like. Another thing I'm not really feeling about the two-party system is I just feel like I'm a pawn in their game. And I say that because I don't feel like politicians serve me. I do feel like instead we serve them and their agendas. And if we're lucky, whatever agenda they have benefits us, right? So one administration takes office, they may put some agendas and policies into place that actually benefit me. Then the next time their policies are not kind to me or kind to my demographic, it just goes back and forth. I literally feel like a ping pong ball when it comes to the political system, and I'm over it. So I don't care for this two-party system. I just don't feel like it serves us. It actually serves them. We serve them. And I'm tired of participating in a system that isn't fair and balanced and that doesn't serve me. I really feel like we've allowed ourselves to be rocked to sleep like Rockabye Baby. We've traded our power and our freedom for convenience and false promises of safety. So honestly, we've inherited a sick society, a diseased society. These policies, laws, rules that we live with were put into place long before we arrived, and we just have to go along. And I feel like every time we participate and we agree with these laws and these rules and these policies, we are actually making an agreement. We're making an energetic agreement. We're saying yes to these things, even though I know a lot of us don't believe in it. I did a reading for 2025. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a channeler. I, share prophecies and psychic predictions. One of the messages was really pushing humanity to take a stand. And I kept hearing the words, we the people. And it was something about us coming together and really standing together against oppression, against all these different isms and ists, right? Against poverty and war and all of these things. Like there's a need to stand up and stand together to fight these things and to eradicate them, essentially. People forget that there was actually a time where humans governed themselves, right? They had their little villages. They had rulers of those little villages. They had systems in place. They grew their own food. They dug wells for water. They made their own clothing. Humans have been self-sustaining. And that's something that we're being pushed to get back to. At least that's what I was getting in that channeling. And one of the things that really annoys me, y'all, is that we're born into a world where there are so many resources available to us. And all of these resources have been taken and privatized and monetized and sold back to us, right? So again, our ancestors at some point in history turned over all of this to corporations and the government, and they sell it back to us. And then we wonder why everything's toxic, and every time you turn around, there's a recall on a product, right? There's something that they've been selling us for years that's toxic to us. It's all bullshit and band-aids when dealing with these politicians and these corporations. Very little of what they do affects true change, and I'm over it. So those are the reasons why I believe America's fucked or cooked. And let's now discuss how we can unfuck America. Because the truth is, y'all, I'm sorry, but no politician is going to do that for you. I really believe there are many people who benefit from things staying just as they are. So one of the ways we can unfuck America is by saying no intentionally and saying it with our chest. We say no to divisive and harmful policies, and we can say no in a number of ways. And we may have to get creative in saying no, and finding ways to say no. One of the ways we say no is by withholding our hard-earned dollars, honey, because money talks here, and no one likes to lose money. They don't. But sometimes that means inconveniencing ourselves, right? Not buying a product, not supporting certain things, even if it hurts us in some way or inconveniences us in some way. Some other examples of saying no are leaving the country, going somewhere where people are living lighter, freer lives, where the policies are progressive, where they live innovatively. I've even heard other people say that they're giving up their citizenship. So that's another way you can say no. Another way you can say no is by becoming a policymaker or politician that fights for justice, that fights for righteousness. Another way we can unfuck America is by having a hyper-local focus. And this is something that has come up in my channelings from the divine and from our ancestors. We're being encouraged to use our gifts, skills, and talents to support our neighbors and community. So really focusing on your community. I think because of social media and the World Wide Web, it's very easy for us to focus all of our attention outside of us and across seas to what's going on there. And that's fine, but there needs to be more of a hyper-local focus where we're using our gifts and abilities to support our communities. Kind of like in village living, And the truth is, we have enough issues in our own backyard that we need to deal with. So one of the ways I like to practice this hyper-local focus is by doing food drives. So once in a while, I'll host my own food drive. I'm not looking for organizations to partner with. I literally come up with a plan. I'll share it via social media. I'll collect food, and then I'll hand that food out or donate it to a local pantry. So that's one of the ways that I have that hyper-local focus. Another way to unfuck America is getting back to self-autonomy, doing for self. It's time to be self-sufficient and self-directed. So we can actually look back through history and find case studies where this really worked for people, because there have been periods where this was what was done, right? People were self-sufficient. They were self-directed. If they had rulers, they picked their rulers from amongst their own communities. At least you know what you're getting when you're picking your rulers from amongst your neighbors, like you typically know who you're putting into power. But we need to get back to doing for self. And I'm going to go as far as saying that we also need to do this in terms of production of food items, the things that we use, our skincare, our hair care, our food, our water, our clothing. That's how we make sure these things are not toxic, is if we start to really take responsibility and produce them ourselves. Y'all, I am so sick and tired of seeing recalls. So there's recalls on food almost every week now. And then imagine using a product for years, right? And then finding out a decade later that that product causes cancer. It's just not right. And the way we avoid this is that self-autonomy, doing for self. Another way we unfuck America is by relying on collective strength. We need to work together as a people, right? That's what the divine was saying to me in my 2025 read. As a people, we need to come together. So good and righteous people need to gather and work together and make new collective agreements. Because energetically, every time you go along with a policy, every time you get in line with something, you are agreeing to it. So it's time to make new collective agreements. And when we rely on our collective strength, we can do that together. Another way to unfuck America, and this came straight from my divine spirit guides, is we have two options. This is what they told me. We can divest or fight. So we're either going to have to leave, divest from the United States, or fight for our right to a happy, healthy life. And my last suggestion for how to unfuck America, and also my personal favorite, is doing away with the two-party system and going back to smaller village-style living, self-governed living. So what I mean by that is, say you live in, a city or a town, actually breaking that down into smaller villages, smaller groups, and then being self-governed from there. And I know that sounds like outrageous to some people, right? Because they get so attached to current systems. But if the current system is broke, we should do something to fix it instead of continuing to perpetuate it. That's just my 2 cents. Okay, y'all. So every episode I share gorgeous guru prompts, which are questions for reflection or journaling. So today's prompts are, do you think America is fucked, aka cooked? What steps can you take to help unfuck America? How can you use your gifts, skills, and abilities to support your community and your nation? If you want to continue this conversation, we can do so over on Instagram. You can follow me at The Gorgeous Guru Podcast, all one word. And if you're enjoying the podcast, become a monthly supporter of the show. All of your donations would be a great help. You can sign up at thegorgeousgurupodcast.com to become a monthly supporter. Thank you so much for joining me today. You could have spent this time doing anything, but you decided to spend it with me, and I'm grateful. I hope you'll join me next time.